Welcome back to Digital Games, where we explore how games help us grow, connect, and heal. Today, we are talking community building in video games. For those of you who don't know, Kinda Funny and What's Good Games are two internet channels dedicated to talking about video games and various topics in nerd culture. But what is so interesting about these two groups is that both of them have such vibrant communities that help keep the channels alive. Well, I tracked down two members of those communities, the nanobiologist himself, Mick Abrahmanson, and watch out, class is in session because we have DocBrooke here as well. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing great.
Man, I'm doing good. We're testing this out live on Twitch, and we'll have it later up on YouTube as well. And I'm just really excited that we were able to do this. Both of you, I've been paying attention to your streams, and I'm so excited just to talk video games for a little bit, really.
I always love to talk about video games and community. That's like my thing. So
I know.
You got the right girl.
Well, we're gonna get AirPod out. We're going to get all into that and explore, a little bit about what makes you both tick. But before we do, just a reminder that this is Digital Doc Interviews, where we talk to the people using video games to help have a positive impact on the world, people like Mick and Brooke. If you like what we are doing here, or you're a kind of funny best friend, or you're a What's Good watcher, that's what I'm going to call them, a What's Good watcher, go ahead and hit that like or thumbs up button and make sure to follow and subscribe to help support the channel. It really does help a lot, and I appreciate it a lot. So starting with the nanobiologist, Mick, I've been listening to Kinda Funny for quite some time now. In fact, the channel, served as a big inspiration for me to go out and create Digital Doc Games. But almost every day for the past, 2 or 3 years, ever since Kinda Funny Games Daily began, I have heard one name over and over every day on my podcast, and that is the nanobiologist. So Nano, tell us, where did the nanobiologist name come from, and how did you become such an integral part of the Kinda Funny community?
I wouldn't say it's the past 3 years. I really started in, I think, late 2018 when I really started working from home full time. And I just started spending my lunch breaks at the time that Kinda Funny was live. So I always heard this You're Wrong section. I heard a lot of stuff slide. And then finally, when I was able to watch live regularly was when I started to contribute and catching things on my own and submitting stuff. But I wasn't always an nanobiologist. I went by the name Demi Devil for a while.
Interesting.
So I always liked the idea of, I liked mythology a lot, so I heard demigods. I thought, what's the opposite of demigod? Oh, it's a demidevil.
I feel like I have to go back to past episodes now and see, here where the demigod was this whole time.
No, it was never did it there. I started off as, I think maybe I did do like demidevil once or twice, and then I went with the nanobiologist from then on.
Gotcha.
But
yeah.
That really came from my 2 degrees that I got from college, because I was pre-med in college.
Oh, really?
I went with the intention of going to med school, but then right around that time I started applying, taking the MCATs, and doing interviews. I decided that really wasn't for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I graduated with 2 bachelor's degrees. It was a dual degree from Virginia Tech with bachelor's in biology and nanoscience. I was actually one of the first in the nation to graduate with a bachelor's in nanoscience.
So the nanobiologist was born.
Yep. Came from there.
Cool.
Wow. So thanks, Mick. We're going to get back to you. But Brooke, I want to come to you because you are also a very active member at Kinda Funny, but also at the channel What's Good Games. But something really interesting about you, Brooke, is that you are actually getting your PhD at the University of Maryland, go Terps, looking at online communities with a special emphasis on gaming and live streaming communities. Is that right?
That's right. So the program that I'm technically a part of is called Rhetoric and Political Culture. And but my advisor, Damon Pfister, is known for digital rhetorics and digital communities. And so my work is looking specifically at how digital communities engage in activism. And because I'm so involved in the gaming community and because I've been doing a lot of work in that space, that's where a lot of my studies are focused, or looking at gaming communities or nerdy communities, essentially, and how they work towards activism.
Wow, that is really cool. Did you enter UMD with that idea?
Not specifically with gaming, because honestly, I didn't think I would get institutional support for that anywhere in a communication program, because game studies is still pretty new in a lot of the humanities disciplines for how it's studied, or if it is studied, it's very much so like, how do video games negatively impact us? But I'm very lucky that I have an advisor who is like, I think you're onto something here. And particularly, I think with COVID, I've been able to start really making the case academically in my research and in certain circles that we should start really paying attention to the game space. So in the last year or so, I've been able to start really making the case for why we should start studying communities and the positive things that are coming out of the gaming community, because there's a lot.
I love that. And that's totally, like, I'm so happy to hear it, because that's, a big idea of this channel is there's a lot of noise, like you said, about the negative effects of gaming, claims about gaming and aggression, certainly about toxicity. And, certainly some of these aspects are true, but there are a lot of positive impacts of gaming, just like you said. And that's really what we explore here at Digital Games. So that's really awesome. You're going to be a good resource for us, Brooke.
I'm happy. I'm always good for a book recommendation. That's the annoying part of people in PhD programs. We always have book recommendations.
Well, I'll take a video game recommendation.
Okay. I can do both.
There we go. You can have it. It doesn't have to be one or the other. So guys, most podcasts and channels call their audience, just that, right? Their audiences, their listeners, their viewers. But in video games, there is a sense that audience members are actually a community. And in fact, Kinda Funny even gives their community members a name, right? They call their audience members their Kinda Funny best friends. What do you think, we'll start with Nano, what do you think about this industry, these channels that connect gamers all over and actually help to create friendships? What is so special about the gaming community that allows for that?
I think in these cases, it's all about having a communal place where you have something that you can relate to somebody immediately with. Like with these communities like the What's Good Games group and Kinda Funny and the Best Friends, you immediately know they like video games. They like these pop culture movies and icons. So do I. So I can immediately start talking with these people, anybody here, and immediately hit it off. Just on that equal footing that you have. You can just start hopping in and people will welcome you. And it really becomes a close-knit group that you can easily just come in and say hi. And once they get a sense like, oh, this person's fine, which usually happens very quickly nowadays. Like a lot of people can get a quick sense, oh, this person's cool. They're more than welcome to hop on in, come to all these events, like the weekly Zoom calls that happen now for the Best Friends, or anybody who does stream, come on and say hi and just hit it off with those people and become new friends immediately.
It's interesting hearing you say that. I did an interview a few weeks back with Dave Kraus, who's the director of veteran affairs at Stack Up, a gaming charity to help military veterans. And Dave talked about how he could take any veteran and put them in a room together, and within minutes, it would be like they knew each other a lifetime. And we talked about how it really is born from that shared experience, that even if you didn't know each other while you were serving, your experience was so relatable that you could empathize with someone on a different level. And I believe that, like you're saying, a lot of that is similar to video games. And being gamers, I'm playing one game over here, you're playing the same game miles and miles away. We are linked. We have a shared experience, and these communities give us a outlet to a platform to be able to discuss those. Brooke, you're nodding your head. Anything to add on the PhD side of things?
Well, it's actually one of the things that I've been studying. I'm working on a project specifically looking at the phenomenon that we've been seeing with Animal Crossing and COVID, and what has had to happen because people have to relate to each other in virtual spaces because we can't be with each other in physical spaces right now, for a whole host of reasons. And I think some of what Anna was talking about, and I agree with, is that what these communities provide for people are alternate places and spaces to have like tactile connection, which is, I think, something in our humanness that we really need as part of just how we communicate and how we relate to each other. Like games are tactile, even if you're not necessarily talking about specifically like haptics, right?
Right.
But then also there is this community curation that a lot of people have been theorizing about how people understand their citizenship and their allegiances with digital communities, because it can be a bit more fluid. You can come and go more easily than you can, say, in your country or something, right? Your actual citizenship to a particular nation state. So there's just a lot with the gaming communities, and specifically speaking about communities like What's Good or the Kind of Funny Best Friends. There's also a really strong team of mods that I always want to give a shout out to, because moderation is a huge aspect about why those communities are good, because it's people putting in their time and labor, almost always for free, to help make sure conversations can be positive. If there are people who are not obeying kind of community guidelines, making sure that those are observed in some fashion. Right. And then also trying to be the voice for the community to the people who run the community, right? Like the What's Good mods, we have a chat, and sometimes we bring things to the attention of like Andrea and Britt and Steimer and Rihanna and be like, hey, this is a thing, this is a problem, how can we work on this as a community? So I think modding is also a huge part of that. And the strength of those communities, I think, is partially also in the strength of their modding team. There are some really great folks who work to make those communities good.
Yeah, thank you to the mods. And let's dive into that a little bit. I mean, what do you think, what pushes a viewer, a best friend, whatever you want to call them, that extra step to say, no, this is something that I really care about. I'm going to go the extra mile and offer to become a mod, or to even become a Patreon subscriber and help support them financially. What is the personality behind that person?
Who's going to start?
Yeah, sure, I can start. Just because I know both Nano and I are mods for different communities, and so which is part of I'm not just patting ourselves on the back when I say that, but I do think it
yay
takes
to the mods, yay to Brooke.
but it's a lot of work. It's actually something that I've been really interested in just generally, because it's a lot of labor people do for free. And like the way I became a mod and What's Good is I was active in their community Facebook page already because I was looking for people. I had just moved to Colorado for my master's program. I didn't know anyone other than my roommate, who I liked, but like you need some space away from the one person you're living with at the time. And I was looking for people to play games with me because I was trying to figure out how to make friends, and I needed that human connection. And since I was so present in the community, I just sort of threw it out there once in a chat where I was just like, hey, ladies, if you ever need more mods, hit me up. And they immediately made me a mod and were like, please help. And then I've been modding for them, and now I mod on their Discord, and I've been doing stuff for them ever since. And for me, it sort of grew where as my investment in the community grew, the roles I was willing to play and the things that I was willing to offer as far as my time grew, partially just because I enjoyed this space so much, I wanted to make it a good space.
Yeah.
But I think that's the interesting thing about modding, since it is free labor. You usually have to assume people who are modding, and it's not very happy work because people usually just get mad at you. Like no one's like, oh, we love the mods. Usually they're like, the mods are getting too ban happy. The mods are censoring me. Freedom of speech. And I'm just like, it's a different type of dynamic.
Not how it works here.
Yeah, not how it works here. So it's usually for love of the community. At least it was for me. I don't know, Nano, how you feel about that. That was my experience.
Yeah, Nano, is that something similar for you?
Yeah, it's very similar, where I was always in the chat with Kind of Funny. I was doing You're Wrong, so my name was there. And then it just seemed like things were kind of getting away, or I don't know, I just felt like maybe I should reach out and say, hey, if you guys need any extra help, feel free to hit me up. And Joey immediately responded and said, yeah, I'd be happy to have you be a mod. You're always active in the chat. People know you. People can trust you. I can trust you. So here's this little extra power. Please don't go crazy with it.
You know, it's interesting. Obviously, a big topic that we talk about on this channel is digital health, right? And taking healthcare practices and digitizing them to make them more accessible for people all around the world, for people who don't have access to care. And what Kinda Funny and What's Good and other channels like them have done in a way is digitize the community. And from what you both are saying, it sounds like it is a extremely positive and supportive community on the part, thanks to you modders. But that, it has a lot of, and Brooke, you could probably speak to it, but has a lot of interesting health benefits. I know for me personally, listening to the Kinda Funny podcast, whether it be Games Daily or Gamescast, having them kind of to fall back on every day, their voices in a weird way have become relaxing for me. It's like, haven't heard, Imran's voice today. I gotta make sure, and for me, not having in my direct life really anyone that understands my passion for video games or even plays games with me, it's been incredibly rewarding to dive into a community that people do have those experiences. I don't know, does that give any thoughts, almost like a digital health community?
Yeah, I mean, so there's actually a book that sorry, I told you I was going to recommend a book. There's a book I just recently read by Dr. Amanda Nell Edgar, where she talks about critical cultural vocalics. And part of what she's talking about is that there's this intimacy that is produced through the mediated voice. So music, radio, television, I would make their case like live streaming, these things that we end up not only just like learning more about the people who are speaking or the voices that are being heard, but also more about ourselves and how we understand ourselves in society. And, I have been listening to Greg Miller, specifically Greg Miller, since I was, I think, 12, right?
Wow.
And I'm 28 now.
Wow.
Because I was one of the OG IGN listeners, back when he got started and first started on podcasts. I've been listening to him. I mean, I was listening to Christine Steinmer from What's Good. She was on a IGN podcast, RIP, called Girl Fight for a while. So I've been listening to some of these people for more than a decade, right? And so I think there is something to be said about that level of intimacy, and that especially when you think about mental health, the important it is to have that kind of connection to a community and to a group, especially again, thinking about COVID, that idea of routine too, kind of Funny Games Daily is for a lot of people an important part of their daily routine.
Right.
And I think that has a lot of health benefits, especially when you think about it as something that orients you towards connections to other people, as opposed to something that isolates you, right? And a part of your routine that isolates you. So those are just some ideas churning in my brain.
Yeah, and I mean, talk about, decreasing the negative stigma behind video games. I think so many people who don't game or don't have don't watch Kinda Funny or What's Good have this idea that video games are isolating. They are you in front of your TV screen, zombieing out for a little bit. But all you have to do is listen to one of these podcasts or jump in the chat or go and jump on a Twitch stream to understand that quite often that couldn't be further than the truth.
And it feels like it's changed meaning recently too, with all of us being locked in our houses thanks to this pandemic. There was a huge issue of depression at the start of the pandemic, especially for people who are used to being socialites, where they would go out all the time and socialize. But now there's more and more ways of people socializing online. People who may not game normally or play mostly mobile games when they're on their train or something can now pick up games with their friends that are quick and easy things. Like Among Us is so accessible now that you can play with your friends, or Jackbox. There's just so many games now that are attracting people, and it's kind of breaking down that stigma even more because we're finding ways to fill that void of what we had before the pandemic. Interacting with people though, you see more and more people hopping into these communities now, especially at the start of it, where people would say, "Oh, I can never watch this live," and people would welcome them.
Yeah. I love that. That was beautifully said. Well, one thing that I imagine has changed for both of you is, I mean, you guys are both relatively local. I guess you guys are both in Maryland.
Mhm.
So, and you both run or help run the Kinda Funny DC chapter. Uh, and I'm so upset because I literally just moved away from DC, and now after I moved is when I meet you both. I think I was planning on coming to one event, but it was a Saturday night, and I think my daughter was just a couple months old at that point, and I ended up bailing. Um, obviously, well, I don't know. Are Kinda Funny DC having events now, or are on pause?
Oh, COVID.
Yeah.
So really major props to Mick because he's the one who really does a lot of the organizing. I'm just very vocal on all the pages where I'm like, yes, we should do the thing. I think our last event that we actually made happen was Sonic, which ironically will be the only movie I saw in theaters. As someone who really enjoys going to the movies with my friends, that is
Right.
like both painful and kind of hilarious.
Right.
But we had made a bunch of plans and then the Rona.
Yeah,
So,
then the Rona.
alas.
Then the Rona.
But we've been doing things digitally as well. I know we just did a fundraiser. Both Nano and I did a fundraiser together as part of Kind of DC. And there's some online stuff going there too. So
right.
I've been looking into how to do things digitally for Kind of DC. It was mostly on hold because my life kind of shifted as well. So I think I kind of had to like tone down some parts of what I've been doing. And Brooke was the one who suggested, "Hey, let's do a Kind of DC thing to help out the community." And that was so much fun to do. And we raised $750 for the food bank.
Wow.
That was very fun.
So it really shows the community coming out in stride to help out. But yeah, now that things have kind of settled, I wanted to move into making that more prevalent and people who were part of the DC area joining again, or people who never were able to can now join and hang out with us.
Yeah, well, I think it's awesome, and again, I wish I'd come that night, but I'll tag along for any digital events, or maybe you guys can give me a reason to come back to DC and visit. So, Nano, you mentioned the charity stream that both you and Brooke did. Let's talk about your Twitch channels. So I know Brooke, you're a full-time charity streamer, right?
Yep. So the way I have it organized is that I'm always raising money for a charity. I change the charity based on every month, although I might start changing every quarter. We'll see, although it's been going pretty well. But all donations and bits that are given to my channel anytime go directly to that charity, the designated featured charity of the month. So I do that as sort of a full-time shtick.
Yeah. Wow. That's great. And if people want to check out your channel and support said charity, how can they do so?
Yeah, so this month we're supporting Vote Riders, which some of you may know from the Spawn on Me fundraiser that was going on through Twitch as well. They're a nonpartisan group that's working to fight voter suppression and help people navigate voter ID laws in the United States as our election is coming up. And if you want to check out more about that, or if you want to check out my Twitch channel, I stream Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays at twitch.tv/DocBrooke. I spell Brooke with an E at the end of my name. You can also find me on Twitter where I put all of my go lives. So if I like this week, I'm actually streaming on a Thursday because I lost a crown bet to Nano during our charity stream, and I now have to play Dead Space, and I am very sad. But if you want to see those sort of like special events and things, you can also follow me on Twitter at EBFips. My last name is spelled PHIPPS.
Awesome.
And you can get all my go lives there as well.
Yes, go follow DocBrooke or EB Phillips over on Twitter. And Nano, I have been, I have to say, staying away from your Twitch this month because all you're doing is playing scary games, and scary games scare me.
Same.
But they scare me too.
That's right. That's right. But no, you really, you're awesome, and you're always in the chat talking about, obviously as someone who's so passionate and so involved in the video game community, you represent that, I think, just as much in your own community, in your own Twitch. So everyone go check out Nano. Nano, what's your Twitch ID if people want to come see your stream?
It is at the Nano Biologist, THENANOBIOLOGIST. I think I spelled it all correctly. And yeah, so I try and do some charity streams every now and then, but for this month, it's all about the spookiness, jump scares happening by the chat. They all control it themselves. There's been some great moments of me getting scared by SpongeBob quotes being played.
I'm not sorry for that.
I don't even know what that means, but I'm gonna say it sounds spooky. That's awesome, and I wanted to ask you both, and it sounds like you may even have ways to have a line of communication. You guys are mods for the Kinda Funny and What's Good channels, but as we're talking about them, let's say Andrea hops on, this YouTube when it goes up, or Greg hops on and takes a listen. Starting with Nano, what is something that you would just like to say to, one of the Kinda Funny members about their channel or the impact that it's had on you?
Honestly, thank you so much for helping me get out of a bad mental state. I have been so shy, and I've had such awful social anxiety until I started being in the chat and reaching out more. Like my only friend for so long was either my girlfriend or my roommate, and I never really got out there. But once I started feeling welcome in the community, it really helped open that shell enough where I felt comfortable streaming. I actually was terrified of streaming for so long, even though I wanted to, because I was scared of putting myself out there. And just being who I am in this community has really, really helped that. And then going from that to streaming to creating creating those social situations with now so many new friends, people I can just call upon for anything, really has been amazing.
Brooke, how about you?
Yeah, I think in a similar boat. I mean, I guess it's a slight inverse of that in that I've always been an extrovert and I really love connecting with people. And what I have really valued about being a part of these communities for me is that if I want to, I could very easily spend an evening with friends every day of the week, which is for me, fantastic. And especially in COVID, I have found that it has been deeply and fundamentally important for my mental health because I live alone. Right. And so it has been incredibly helpful that through these communities, I've gotten networked into lots of other Discords. I myself have started streaming as part of it. And I've just found a place where I can use a lot of things that I think are talents and gifts, but may not be appreciated in places like academia. But I can use them in this space and make friends and do some good for charity and just be inspired to be a positive person on the internet. And I'm just really grateful for creators like the What's Good Games girls, like the Kinda Funny team. Also, shout out to people like Clef Adams on Spawn on Me and Zombie Kills, some of these amazing streamers who are working really, really hard to make positive communities on Twitter and in Twitch and all these other spaces. Yeah. Because I think they are really showing us how important good online community is, especially in a time like the coronavirus times.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, before we close, I'd like to close with a favorite gaming memory. And it could be a memory that evokes, how gaming was therapeutic for you in some way. But if not, just a favorite gaming memory.
On the spot.
Yeah, I was going to say, here, I can give you some time, because I can. For me, I think I've told this story other places, but it's still an important story. For me, I think the game that fundamentally changed my idea about what games could do in the future, and it is also ironically sort of tangentially related to Kinda Funny. When Gone Home came out, I was very unfamiliar with that genre of what that game was. And I remember very distinctly that Greg Miller was a big fan of it and kept kind of promoting it on the podcast, just saying this game was a game that really emotionally impacted me. And that was the first game I played as a young adult. I think I was in college. Yeah, I was a junior in college at the time that it came out in my undergrad. And when that game credits rolled, I just sort of sat there and I wanted to cry, and it was the first time a game ever really emotionally impacted me like that. And then it's also the first game that I ever then was the story was so simple, but so like beautifully told, and it was also just so kind as far as cost wise. It was like $20. You can convince a lot of people to get it. I just remember like buying it for like as many people as I could and being like, play this game. So I really think that was the game that changed my mind about the fact that games could talk about social issues and have it be really meaningful. Yeah. And that's really been a huge inspiration for my research and also what I do on my Twitch channel, because I focus on games that try to address social issues or represent groups that are traditionally underrepresented in the game space. That would be sort of my game story.
Yeah, that's a great one. Nano, have you thought of one?
Yeah, I think it's really when I started playing World of Warcraft. It's not really a story per se, but it's more of that is really my first true game that I really delved into. Most other times I would play games just to play through the game itself, not really worry about the story or go nowhere past the ending bits.
Right.
But World of Warcraft opened my eyes to what gaming could be. And I've met so many friends that are now lifelong friends that I met when I was 13, 14 years old. And I still talk with them almost nightly now.
Wow.
My best friend I really got close with because of World of Warcraft. And it's, yeah, honestly, just that game really helped define who I am and my friendships.
Yeah, that's awesome. It just reminds me, this is not like a therapeutic story at all, but just thinking about my past with MMOs. I have this great memory. So many of my gaming memories, my early gaming memories, are intertwined with my brother because he's really who introduced me to gaming. And he played, and then eventually I played a Star Wars Galaxy before it was bad, right? Before they brought out the update that made everyone be able to be a Jedi and everything. I guess it was sometime late in December. My birthday is December 29th. I expect presents from everybody watching. I was out somewhere with my mom, and we came home. We came home through the garage, and our gaming computer was in the basement. And my brother runs out to greet me, and he goes, Mxiety, I got it. Like, I found the Jedi holocron, and I got it. I'm a Jedi. And I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, if anyone played Star Wars Galaxies, this was an extremely rare event. There were like not a lot of Jedis in the game. I think maybe I came across like 2. I was so excited. I ran into the room, and all my friends jumped out and yelled surprise. And it was a surprise birthday party.
Aww.
But I was so bummed that it was a lie. It was the worst birthday ever.
Thank you for your friendship, but I want to be a Jedi, please.
That's right. Priorities. Brooke, Nano, thank you guys so much. It was so fun for me to finally meet you guys. I feel like I've been on both your streams, but it's nice to take that extra step. I'm excited for future Digital Doc, Nano Biologist, DocBrooke collabs. I'm sure they'll happen.
Absolutely.
Thank you to everyone on the Twitch chat. Billy the Door, thanks. We see you. I'm sorry, my Nightbot banned you for some reason. This was a good trial. I think we'll try to do some interviews live. That's really fun. In the meantime, remember to like and subscribe. If you're on Twitch, go ahead and just give me a follow so I can let you know when I go live next. We stream every Wednesday night, starting with a Last of Us 2 playthrough blindfolded to learn more about accessibility. And if you're on YouTube or you're on a podcast, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Go ahead and hit that star, whatever it is. Subscribe to all our content like interviews, Let's Plays, and Impact reviews. We appreciate you all coming along for the ride and game on. Thanks, everybody.